and welcome back to Hippie Flower Girl. Today we are going to be talking about how to start your seeds, what is the best germination mix, and how to make biodegradable pots out of recyclable materials. Let's jump into the video. It's making our biodegradable seed pots. First, we're going to start with the ones made out of newspaper. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my newspaper, I'm going to take a ruler. I usually fold the newspaper in the landscape orientation and then divide the newspaper into 6. So I found that it's easier to fold a piece, make sure that that fold is pressed down a lot, than using a ruler to tear that piece off. And then I fold that piece into the center line, and then I just keep doing that until I have enough strips of newspaper that I can turn into my pots. So let's look at how we will create our pots with our newspaper. So over here, I have a plastic container in which my pots will go. Then I have my newspaper strips. Then I have some water, which I will use to wet the strips and just help it stick. And if you see that green thing next to me, that is the pot maker. Over here is the edge of the pot maker where your newspaper should stop. It is good to have an overlap of newspaper because you will press it together to make the bottom, and then you can just secure the bottom of the newspaper like so, and there you have your little newspaper pot. Okay, so let's get started with our germination mix. Okay, so our germination mix consists out of a few things. So there are 4 elements in total. We have 1 brick of cocoa coir, 400 grams of perlite, 400 grams of vermiculite, and then 1 kg of worm castings. Okay, so we're going to mix them all together, and then you will pour water into it to break down the cocoa coir brick and to hydrate the soil. You'll mix it all together. It should look like this. And when you're done, you can fill your seed pots. So if you use this method and you're only filling a few seed pots, you'll see that you have some germination mixed over. So what I do is I just leave it outside in the sun so it can completely dry out. And then when it is completely dried, then I'll put a lid on it and leave it in the garage. Or then when I need it again, I will rehydrate it with some water, and then I'll just use it to fill my seed pots. First, I will fill up my pots. It uses about 2.5 tablespoons in each. So I usually do 2 tablespoons, and then I will press it down with my finger just to make sure that it is compact enough. Okay, once that is done, I will add to the seed pots that have a little less soil than I would like. And then I will move over to planting my seeds. So I have everything that I need over here. I got my seed pots, I got my germination mix, I have some seeds, and then I also have a little marker to tell me which seeds I am planting here. So over here, I'm planting some carrots. So for small seeds like these carrot seeds, they're very tiny. I will plant 3, 4, 5 into one singular pot. This just increases the amount of plants that will germinate, and it's always better to have more than less because you don't know what's going to happen to these poor things. With bigger seeds like peas or watermelon seeds or pumpkin seeds, I will plant 1 seed in a pot. I will have 2 pots for 1 plant, just in case that it doesn't germinate. We do have extra, and then, it doesn't affect the total quantity. A good rule of thumb for determining how deep your seed should be is look at your seed and then times the size by 3, and then that is the depth. So what I usually do with big seeds is I'll see, okay, where it stops, and then I'll count it up, and then I will use my finger and I'll say, okay, that's the marker, so that's how deep it should go. It shouldn't go past a point. Let's talk about what we did last season that we're going to do different this season. So before winter, we planted some seeds like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, spinach, onions, and was one more, what was it? Carrots, but our onions didn't germinate and our carrots looked poorly. So we're going to do a few things differently. So the first thing that we are doing differently is we are not going to be using plastic trays. We used them before and they work well enough, but the problem is after a few uses, they start to crack and tear, so then they aren't as sturdy as they used to be. Secondly, planting them in those trays and then planting them outside leads to transplant shock, which increases the amount of days until harvest. And we don't want to put our plants through any more stress, so we decided to use biodegradable seed pots that we can just plant directly in the ground and then the roots of the seedlings don't get disturbed. Another thing that we're doing differently this time around is we're using a proper germination mix. Last year, we didn't really use a germination mix. What we did is we took some potting mix and then we sieved it so that we could only get the fine soil. And that worked well, but the problem was some of them dried out a lot. So we decided to mend it with some different materials. And then another thing is our seedlings were placed outside immediately because it wasn't too hot. And they were placed inside the plastic totes that I used to grow mushrooms in, because at that point I was already done with my mushrooms and I wasn't going to grow any more. So it just doubled up as a mini greenhouse. This time we're not going to be doing that. We're going to keep them all inside up until they've sprouted and made their first true leaves. And then we're going to be carrying them out every day, either to harden them off or just to give them more sun. We will be transplanting them when they are big enough according to each variety. Another thing that we will also be doing is for some of our seeds like our tomatoes, our watermelon, and some of our chilies, we are going to be placing on top of heat mats. This is said to aid in the germination, and we've always struggled with tomatoes especially. We are moving our seedlings in like 3 phases. So the first phase is we're putting them in a room where there gets some sunlight, but not the most. And this just helps to keep the soil moist and it allows for better germination. Once we see that the seeds have sprouted and you can see some greenery, we move them to our north-facing window so we can get a lot of sun. Once they've made their first big leaves or their first true leaves, depending on how flimsy they are, we will put them outside. Some will keep inside for a little bit longer just to help them strengthen up. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all the support, and thank you so much for everybody who has liked, subscribed, and commented. You guys make me so happy. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any tips or tricks or questions, please comment them down below. And last one, please subscribe to see more vegetable and mushroom related content. And then I'll see you guys next time. Bye!